Alright everybody, welcome back, and let's continue with our Cisco Packet Tracer introduction. In this part of the course we are talking about Internet of Things. In the last lecture we set up this lab. Now my packet tracer actually crashed on me, so I had to redo this, so if some of the information looks a little bit different, that is why. Now the next thing we need to do is actually start configuring these devices so they can communicate together. But before we do that, see how these names are just super generic? Now yours might be a little different because, like I said, I had to restart my application and it wasn't saved, so I had to recreate it. But these names are super generic, and when we're going to configure these, because we have to create something what's called a registration server on this server we have, which is basically a web application, you're not going to be able to really differentiate these names too well. Okay, you're not going to know IoE3 is a motion detection from IoE2, so you're going to have to keep moving windows around. And if you have a big topology set up with a whole bunch of different IoE devices, it's just going to be very time consuming. So what I like to do is name things accordingly. So we could say this is going to be the registration server, something simple like that. We can name this what it is, really, motion, and we can name this the camera. Okay, camera. Something simple, or whatever you could relate to. But with that, again, these are IP devices, so we got to give these IP addresses. So I'm just going to name him, or make a little note so I can reference it, 172.16.4.10. Now you could use whatever address range you want. I'm just doing this to change it up a little bit from using the class C. And here we'll do 172.16.4.30. Make it simple, right? So there, I have my addresses. And again, these are just notes, so I could visually, look at them and know what addresses they are. Now the next thing we need to do is actually configure each one of these devices to these IP addresses. So if I go to the registration server, I'm going to click desktop IP configuration, just like we've always been doing. So this will be 172.16.4.10. Hit the tab key and it fills in the class B mask for us. One other thing we need to do on this server is actually go to services, okay? And we're going to move all the way down here to IOE. And we see registration server, service is off, so we just want to click on for that. Beautiful, so we can go ahead and close this out. The next thing we need to do is go into motion detector. And to get into where we need to configure this, we need to go into config, okay? And we're going to go down to fast Ethernet 0, 0. And down here at IP address, we're going to say 172.16.4.20. Hit the tab key, and it's automatically going to fill in that class B mask for us. We go ahead and close him out. And then we could go in the webcam and do the same thing as well. Just slide him over. We could hit config, go down to fast Ethernet 0, IP address 172.16.4.30, tab, and all is good. So we go ahead and close him out. Now what we need to do is actually configure or set up a registration server. Even though we turned it on, we never set it up on this device yet. To do that, we're just going to go back to the desktop. We're going to go to the web browser. We're going to simply type in its local address. So that'll be 172.16.4.10. If I hit enter, we're going to be prompted with the registration server login GUI for this server. But we don't have an account yet, so we have to create one. So let's go ahead and sign up now. We can put whatever we want in here. I'm just going to use admin and Cisco, C-I-S-C-O, all lowercase, just to keep things simple. And in fact, I'm going to make a note here. Registration server. Username is going to be admin, password is going to be Cisco. So that's what I'm using. Go back into our server, click create. Now we are inside of the GUI for the registration server that we need to create. Now right here we're not seeing anything connected because we haven't told our IoE devices to communicate to the server just yet. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and open up the motion detection. And what we're going to do is in the global settings, in the config section, we're going to go down here and click remote server and just simply give it the address for that server, which is 172.16.4.10, and then the username is going to be admin and then again Cisco. So it's important that you remember that. And now if I hit connect, it's going to be connecting. Now it should be connected. If it's refreshed, that means it is connected. Now if I go back to the registration server, here we can see we do have our motion detector plugged in. Pretty cool. If you click here, you can see it's on. The red circle simply means that it is not detecting anything. Again, if I go over the motion detector, you can see the motion detector light turned red and the circle here turned green, meaning it was activated. And then after it loses it, it's going to turn off on the motion detector, but it's going to go red here on the actual motion detector. So now we need to do the same thing for the webcam. So let's go into the webcam. Again, in the config tab under global settings, you're going to click remote server. The remote server is again 172.16.4.10. The admin is the username and Cisco is our password. Click connect, and then once it says refresh, you know you are connected. So we can close him out. We go back to the server, and here we see our camera as well. Now here you can see if I go over the camera, but I have to click or push in and hold my Alt key on my keyboard. Holding Alt, go over the camera, nothing's happening. Why is that? Because we don't have any motion tripping this to go off yet. So that's what we're gonna create here moving forward. So what we want to do from here is actually go into conditions, and we basically need to write a little bit of a script, or it's basically an action saying if something takes place, then do something. It's basically a whole bunch of if-then statements going on in the code, but we just have a nice little GUI we could work with. So we're going to add a rule here, and the first thing I'm going to do is say cam on, or whatever you want. And to make this, we're going to enable it, match all, okay? And here we're going to say we're going to turn on motion. So here's what I was saying is if we didn't name these accordingly, when you're starting to go through this and you have a whole bunch of devices and this is like over your topology, you just have to keep moving things around to see what those IOE numbers were. It's complicated, so make it simple. So what we want to do is say if the motion is tripped and it's turned on and it's true, okay, you could turn it false, true, then we want the camera to turn on to true. We could click OK. Now we're going to go ahead and add another rule. So when the motion detector is off, the camera is not recording either. So to do this, we're just going to say camera or cam off. It doesn't really matter. You could play around with it. And it's going to match all. If the motion is on and it's matched to false, meaning there is no motion, so it's not turning it on, then the camera is going to be false as well. So we could click OK. So those are our two rules. Okay, we could minimize that. Now let's go ahead and actually let's open that back up. We're just going to kind of move him over here to the side real quick. Let's hit the home button here, and we're going to drop down these two options. So you can see we're not tripping any motion on either one of these at this current time. I'm going to slide it over. Now if I take my mouse and I click and hold down the Alt key and go over the camera or the motion, you can see we do have camera motion. Now as soon as the motion loses detection, the webcam goes off as well. Pretty cool, isn't it? So anytime you need to move over an IoE device, you need to push and hold down that Alt key. Notice right now I am not using the Alt key. Nothing's happening. If I push down and hold that Alt key and move over it as if someone's walking through a door or what have you, our camera now turns on, starts recording. You see the little light on the camera as well. Let's do that again. The camera will actually have a little red light as well. So there's a lot of really cool things you could do within the Internet of Everything devices or Internet of Things devices within Packet Tracer. Again, there is so many different options that you could do and utilize that it's just, this is not a course to learn all of those because honestly, it would take forever. But these SBC boards, okay, these are quite, fascinating as well. We could actually really go in and start creating different programmable rules for these. Let's say we want to use Blocky, which is a visual programming language. And it's really easy to learn. It's, you obviously know you need to create variables, and then you need to create a function, and then if you need to set numbers, your math blocks here, you just drag a math block in, change the variables, and if you want to print different things, you could print them out a screen. That's almost as if you are echoing out for any of you programmers out there. You're echoing or printing something to a screen. So things of that nature. So Blocky is a very cool programming language you could use. You would use this for a lot more far complicated things such as turning on lights and let's go back to our end user devices here. So if we're trying to turn on different lights to motion or calling up different card access systems, you would do it a lot within the SBC or MCU boards. So there's a lot of flexibility in here. Now this course isn't necessarily going into building IoE labs, but at least you're able to play around with some of these IoE devices and learn how to connect them to a server and see how they interact together, okay, on a little local area network there. So I hope you guys found this course very helpful. Again, my name is Keith Gebhardt. Please don't forget to take advantage of those specials I have for you. For any of you in networking, these courses will tremendously help you, whether you're Network Plus or Cisco CCNA. The coupon for those two courses is on your screen right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you another time.